The intention of this call specifically, let me share a screen with you guys, is okay, here we are. The intention of this call is to outline the portal to the new paradigm. So we're all wanting to get to this, build this new earth together. It became very clear, at least for me, at Tribalize when I went there, and just hearing all the speakers and everyone's just so in line with what we're doing. It's like we don't even have to say it anymore. We're all super aware. So we want to get to this new earth, ourselves as soon as possible, but also do it coherently and whatnot. So what I've so far I've broken it down from where I'm involved. We're going to use the co-creative process for this call that Mike Upstone has given us, and how that looks is, it's just in case anyone is not familiar, it's what's called an energy circle. And so today I'm going to keep that focus of the energy circle, and then I want anyone that wants to step up and take that role on in any call at all. Let me know, and we want to start being able to train people to do that. And where that is in the space agreements, in the co-creation manual, co-creation tools. And I believe is this the energy circle right here? Is that, who's familiar with the energy, with this document besides Mike? Tiana, a little bit? Okay, so this is good. So this is, I'll give you guys a brief from what I understand, and Mike, if you want to add anything. So pretty much just what it says here, it's you're valuing people's time, ensuring positive progress is made, suggesting practical compromises, retaining focus, energy, positive momentum, effectiveness, supporting the intention, and implementation of the team's processes and agreements. So ensuring everyone gets heard, keep a focus on positive solutions. I really like that one. Keep the team focused on improving solutions put forward. So it's really about progressing and being able to progress and and gain momentum as we move, so our calls aren't stagnating. And then if we're progressing too quick and we're losing each other and it's just not working for whatever reason, or there's a communication breakdown, we go to a listening circle where each person goes around and just gets to be heard. Is that about right, Mike?
Yeah, that's right, Josh. The main difference between the two, apart from that difference of intention, which is getting into, the deeper issues of how we feel about things and how we think about things and stuff like that, is that the energy circle is very informal. It's whoever's got an idea or an input or whatever just steps forward and shares it.
Okay. So that being said, but it's okay today that we have a focus, right? I mean, there's still an intention of a call, right? So it'd be, they put whatever forward within that. And we added into that, by the way, guys, we added this in on our second call, I believe, using this, that we also want to add in frames with our calls. So a frame would be like, we're doing outlines, which is perfect. So it's like we're doing one piece of the outline at a time instead of jumping around. And if we didn't have an outline, we would be doing frames, which means let's talk about healthcare. And then we would say, is everyone complete about healthcare before we move on? So it's just allowing everyone to be complete and have their full input. Okay, so that's that. Here's the next steps. And what I've broken down, this is getting us as quickly as we can, what pieces are needed to building out what I consider in my mind the new earth. And this is where we all get to just co-create this thing. And then we get to choose which teams and pieces that we're going to do, and next steps. We have an anonymous platypus on the anonymous chinchilla, anonymous bat. Is that all you, Brett? Or is that just how it comes up?
I don't know. I thought it would come up as me when I'm on it, but
That's interesting. I've never seen that. Okay. Okay, so let's just start with the first one. We have governance and agreements. I'll tell you what we have really quick. So I'm gonna give a quick outline so we can move fastly. Governance and agreements, funding and funding models, including currency and business structures. We did go over this on the other call. We might add some of that in, but I think this is different because we have a different formula here. Tech platform integration and physical buildings. That's what I have so far. I'm open to anyone at any time coming in here and making a suggestion for a headline, and we can all talk about it. Let's just make sure we talk about anything we add. Okay, so anyhow, this is what we have in governance agreements. I said the Declaration of Agreements allows people to gain coherence and team build. It's functional. Now, this is what we have right now, and this is what some of our friends might have that aren't in our group. So what we have means us in the group. Does anyone else have anything they want to add into what we have already that is basically open source for our group, our universal group at this point? No? Okay, so we can build on that when other people come in, but right now we have that. We do have a platform within our group with Ian. Ian has, I don't know what it's called, but he has that decentralized platform for us to put the declaration on. So we have a Ian Luthringer has a platform to integrate agreements on. Okay, so we have that also. I'm going to put some bullet points to make it pretty. Okay, so what we want. So I put, this is the same as Ian. There's CoGov, Tony, Ray, and Raymond. They all have other platforms that they want to integrate this on. So we have 4 platforms, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is kind of like my metaphor for this is it's a rail system that we're putting our vehicle on. And our vehicle is designed for high speeds. As we climb these curves, and you see it everywhere we go, and we hit technology curves and we go up, straight up. We need to be able to keep up that pace. And so this is the energetic superhighway that we're getting ready to step onto. And they have the platform that we're going to be able to integrate with. And the difference is, like, once we have all the coherence and we know money's not getting in the way, we're able to we're all able to, if we do art, we know it's going to happen. It's going to be for the community. It's not like I do art, then I have to hide it from people and sell it and print it. And it's just, we're all doing it. So this is my intention. That's my intention. Does anyone have anything else that they want to add on to that? And you can add why. Yeah, get info on this. Good one. Does anybody have anything in the governance and agreement sector that they would want? Like another platform they think would be good, that's close to us, or anything?
Josh, there's something which is coming up, I think, and that is that I've got a contact in Australia who's got the concept of integrating 3 different pieces of software. One is like a social platform. One is a contextual intelligence platform, not artificial intelligence. And the importance of that is it's able to not just aggregate information, but to thin it down, so you're not overwhelmed by too much information. And there's another piece of intelligence software, excuse me, that they're bringing into this. But the implication that I get from this is that what we can do is we can have a group of people who get together, even a very big group. They can identify problems. And they can start to identify root causes, and the software can help with that as well. It can help to gather theories together as to what the problem is, and how to deal with it. And that is, I think, unbelievably powerful, because effectively the thing that drives it is the software is just a connectivity thing and a utility thing. What drives it is the collective consciousness, or the wisdom of the crowd. And that's the world's biggest supercomputer. The more people we get together, it's their hearts and minds they're going to drive the thing. And I see that as a real possibility for a massively scalable direct democracy model, flattening out hierarchy, etc. So I think that could be a really, really important part of what could be useful for us, could be useful for the planet. I could see it eventually taking over the role of governance for nation states and for major corporations and things like that as well. So I think it's really paradigm changing.
Are you accessing the document? Can you write that in, or would you like me to write it and tell me how to say it?
I don't think I can. I'll have to get out splits out of.
I can give you access level if you don't have it on this right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll exit full screen and see if I can do that.
Let me see who has access and what way. These are the people that says they can edit. Anyone here can edit it. So it should be editable on your end.
Josh, can you post the link into the chat, please?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Let me just to pick that up.
This is a comment link. If you have the link, you can comment. I'm going to say edit for now.
Okay.
I don't like normally doing that for everyone, but it's okay. Just in case, you know. But I'll back this document up, and we're going to turn it into more of a graph, something that we can really look at and use easy. Okay. All right. So does anybody else have anything else they want to add? And then you can add that in while we're talking. Anybody else have anything that they would like to see with governance and agreements that could possibly help us? Okay, it's in the chat. Tell me if you can't access it, and so we'll know. And what I put in here, guys, is I added something in, and that's an online video panel for experts to talk about solutions, and either the crowd or a coherent crowd, which would be like us. We're a coherent crowd, or we're heading towards it. Once we would be able to choose solutions to match themselves to, and up on to complete these solutions. Okay, so what that means is what we've been envisioning, a few of us, is a platform for experts to come together, talk about specific solutions, whether it's building these platforms like we're doing now. Like this is sort of, if this was a video and this is the outline and this is the solutions, we could actually post this on a website to the public, and they could actually team up and say, I like that solution, I like that solution. And then we could tribe match people onto solutions. We could have 100 or 200 or 300 people going, oh, I really like that solution. Exactly how we explained it and talked about it. And then when they go through and they get through the organizational field, now we might have 100 people organized, knowing how to work together, ready to, and this could take over it could be a self-organizing governance model for a city or a state or anywhere. It's very simple, and it takes away all the checks and balances. It's just super simple. Because it only focuses on solutions, and that's all we really need to worry about. Okay, is there anything anybody else wants to see on that, or are you able to access that still, Mike?
Yes.
You got it.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Okay.
I'm going to access it shortly here.
What's that? Steve? Okay. Okay, this is what I put. This is definitely a co-creative. This might even start going up front, but what we're working towards. Does anybody want to read this? Or I will. If you...
Go ahead, Josh.
Okay. A system that can fully allow our movement to gain coherence. Have super clear and unbreakable, well, unbreakable is not a good word, unbreakable contracts, smart money, a way that teams can build and flow in new paradigm fashion, which is supporting our highest purpose and not being thrown off balance through domination tactics. An incorruptible way to relate to one another that includes honor and connection. A system that the glue remains intact so that we can rebuild our family units starting from a place of solitude and mistrust. So saying that right now we're starting from that in our current governance models. So that's what I would like to see in governance. Does anyone have any tweaks, any questions on that? So I'll go through it one more time. So we're gaining coherence as a part of our governance so that we're not just being forced by, rules and regulations. We're actually coherently choosing with agreements versus demands and laws. Super clear contracts and it doesn't say unbreakable. I don't know why I put that. I'm just gonna take that out. Super clear contracts. Smart money. And so what smart money is, this is a term that I heard Ray Potter using, and I believe, were you on that call with me, Mike? Did you? No, it wasn't. It was a different guy. But basically, right now we're using dumb money, and dumb money is money that, like we might pay for a good or a service and not even have the good or service. So smart money actually happens when events happen, when they're completed. It's part of a smart contract. Okay, so having a more coherent money system is going to help our governance. A way that teams can be built and flow in the new paradigm fashion, which is explaining what a new paradigm fashion is, because a lot of people are like, what does that mean? It's supporting our highest purpose and not being thrown off balance through domination tactics. So that's that's new paradigm. New paradigm is supporting our highest purpose and not being thrown off balance through domination tactics is actually modern tribal organization. This is Shahali. She's visiting. Hi.
Hi, Shahali.
Hello.
Bye. Okay. Sorry. An incorruptible way to relate to one another. So incorruptible, meaning it can't be misused, abused by some specific agenda from some specific person that's not in the coherent agreement field. Incorruptible also meaning, that includes honor and connection. So incorruptible, it can't be taken and misused, and it's going to keep with its intended purpose. A system that the glue remains intact so we can rebuild our family units. So this is where I see our agreements being able to flow, so we're not crashing into each other and breaking our foundation that we're building. So the glue that holds us together, which is basically being a family, and family's like, hey, I'm there for you no matter what. Maybe right now I need some space from you, but doesn't mean that we're not family. And so this is what I got when I went and visited the native tribes, and I asked them, what's the glue that keeps you together? And that's the answer I got, was we're family. I didn't like the answer at the time, but I usually don't. But you know, it makes sense when we're rebuilding the family unit, when we've gotten so pushed apart and we're all on our own, and we can always pull the trigger and walk away. And so what in this universal field, it's not like that. Like, we might go take a break and like walk away from a person for a while, but we're not, you know, once we formed this, we're all going towards this together, this family, we're not walking away. So the glue remains intact. And if someone does, the glue's still there. Like, they can walk out of the circle and go back to the matrix or go do whatever. And the actual body that we're creating is still intact. So that's what I put. I see a comment on smart money. Brett, put a footnote that explains this. Yeah, we need to have an explanation of smart money. I mean, I can put it in my words. Anyone else have anything they want to add to the governance area?
So far, so good. It all sounds good.
Okay.
I just have a comment on the last sentence about rebuilding the family unit, starting from the place of solitude and mistrust. What can you exactly maybe elaborate on what that means? Because where it sits better with me is actually starting from a place of you know, love and collaboration, or love and connection. Mm-hmm. And as a result of starting from that place, we're cleaning out that place of solitude and mistrust. So it's just a little twist in the wording, but maybe there's a specific reason why you have worded it like that.
No, I agree. How would it set that? It doesn't read right to me either. How can you, you go ahead and, he's giving us an example, I think.
A system that the glue remains intact so that we can rebuild our family units from a place, not just starting from a system.
We can take the whole thing out if you want. Yeah. We can just say the glue remains intact so we can rebuild our family units, period, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's two different things. So building the new system would be building the new system. If you want to first replace the mistrust, or the system is being built to replace the current model that is creating solitude and mistrust, and starting from a place of love and connection, just some sort of, we're not really building I don't feel that we're building a new system that is starting from a place of.
I think we should make sense? I think we need conciseness, and we want people to not have to read a bunch. So I think we should just take the whole thing out and stop at family units.
A system that,
And can I make a suggested sort of edit to earlier on? I don't know whether it's better just to do it or to suggest.
Please tell us.
Okay, so I think I'd simplify it a little bit and structure it slightly differently. So I don't think we need fully allow, because if we're coherent, we've got full allowance. And I think I'd prefer simple, clear contracts. And then the new paradigm fashion, after that, I'd put everything in brackets, which is defining what that new paradigm fashion is. Otherwise, I think it's going to make it easier for someone who comes to this with fresh eyes to see, all right, that's in brackets. That's defining what the new paradigm fashion is. So I think we can simplify it and make it more powerful at the same time.
Okay, so a system that...
Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to show you what I would do?
Go ahead and change the first part, the system that can gain coherence or whatever. Just I agree. Sounds great.
I think for me, the smart money thing is too particular. It's too related to one specific thing rather than an overall perspective on whatever you want to call it, on transaction, on sharing, on exchange, whatever. It's more like a broader. I would think a broader intention, like.
I agree. Yeah. I'm going to take it out.
And healthy exchanges or something. Healthy exchanges of integral wealth or something. So it refers to money and other goods, like. But then we'd have to explain integral wealth. But so something like that, holistic or something. I mean, I've got a definition of integral wealth somewhere that I could put as a footnote from Fernando from Village Lab. But if you want,
yeah, do that. Does everyone feel okay, let me put, does everyone feel in alignment with that intention?
Just going to read it again.
What is the definition of integral wealth that you were going to mention?
I'm going to get the exact definition from friends of ours, but it just means all levels, from psychological to spiritual to material to emotional. Health and wealth are similar words. They come from the same space. So
I like that.
Integral wealth is integrating all levels and all parts of ourselves.
I call it true wealth, but I'm going to start calling it integral wealth because then we're on the same page and it's already defined. Okay. Does everyone feel good about that? Does anyone not feel?
Give me one more sec.
You can always come back later, like for those of you who like Tiana.
No, I'm just laughing because when you say an incorruptible way to relate to one another,
yes.
is that really possible?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, I'm having. I'll go with the dream. On that one.
I feel it totally is. If we're making our agreement field on a secure server between us, to me that's incorruptible. And we all have access code, or what I mean. If it's all set up right, it's like, yeah, that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for it. I think so.
That's the.
It's a little bit more like Tiana, more like a technologically incorruptible way than a holistically incorruptible way.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
That we might be talking about there.
Because and one thing about technology is you can copy paste. So you could take the whole system, make a backup, and if someone corrupts it, you still got the backup.
Beautiful. I love it.
So on that level it is. Okay. All right, next steps. This is the fun part for me because it really gets us down to action. This is what I have as next steps, and remember, there's other areas. So, for instance, Tiana, you're gonna have more to input on the funding model side, right? And then some people might have more to input on the physical headquarters. So anyhow, just making that a note. So what I have is next steps. Continue the calls. Get the organizational structure on board and smoothed. Getting everyone into their I don't like the word divide, but like it's dividing and conquering. It's choosing of projects. Everyone chooses projects. Aligns with projects. With projects and map with projects and maps out the portal to the new paradigm. So this is what we're doing sort of now. Then 3, so once we have the organizational structure, how I see it is people are coming through this portal, the governance model, and they're gaining alignment and coherence, going into a project. So we're not having the broad calls anymore. We're having specific, completing the next steps for governance on one call and the next step for funding on a different call. So the experts can start to talk together versus, you know, us listening in on conversations that aren't for us. The next one is invite retreat leaders to the platform. So we want retreat leaders and others, retreat leaders and VIPs or special guests. I don't know what you want to call it. And honored guests to the platform. From that moment, we can start to, once we've invited everybody, you know, and it's getting built out big, there's more people in the pools to work together. We can actually start to share resources. So the next phase that I see is finding an open source, and this is probably going to happen. The open source platform is probably going to be a piece of whoever's working on this tech platform integration part, because they're working on the tech platforms that we all need together. So they're going to tell us, we're going to say, hey guys, what's the best place to put our open source information that we can have access level agreements to and all that. And they're going to say, you know, Google Docs or somewhere else, I don't know, or Basecamp or something. Okay, so we're going to have a place to share those with access levels. And then starting to get our space agreements a little more defined. Right now we have the co-creation tools as one, but there's many different spaces that we're supposed to be building out here. So I'm going to be doing one for Brazil. So for a Brazil property. So that'll be added to it so that we'll have some process there that's very coherent for people that want to create their space agreements. And then access agreements for working teams for information that's more sensitive. So the open source has already been put out there. It's for everyone that's in our group. And then we want access agreements before we start giving that information on platforms that people can access through our portal. And then we can create a currency attached to the agreement field. And the reason I put this as number 7 and not as number 1 is because I feel like I just feel like that's the time to do it. I feel like we get our coherence and our momentum, and then we implement the currency, which helps, because, you know, after we've got coherence, it makes it easier to separate that, because it could mess things up, I think, if it's too early.
I think if I can chip in, I think you're absolutely right with that. I think we need to work out our agreements and our common ground before we start getting into things like currency and stuff like that. Otherwise, yeah, process first. And then once we've got a process, we can decide things, we can discuss things, we can agree things, and we can work through any problems that arise. It's a great decision, I think, Josh.
All right, thank you. And then link retreats, people, companies in a coherent manner to the currency agreement fields and funding. So getting it all, at that point, it all kind of connects and we start the engine. All right, so what's any other steps? We have something here. Continue declaration. Okay, there's the definition of wealth. And is that in the right spot, Brett? It's under next steps. It's under number 1.
That's because it's just a footnote in the document, the way the document works.
Okay.
We can, we might be able to like do that so it starts in the next page.
Yep. Great.
Whatever. We can also just, whatever. We can slap it in there too. I like it as a footnote. It's fine. Next steps. Oh, there we go. That looks better. Great. That looks great. So next steps. What does anyone see any other next steps when it comes to the declaration of agreement? I mean, basically these calls, the governance, in anything that we're adding to the governance model, You know what I didn't add on here was at what point we're going to integrate with these platforms that automatically set up our currency and all of our agreement access, supposedly, according to these people. There's 4 platforms. Those are all coming out within a couple weeks or a month. So that's going to help us get this currency launched. Does anyone, so I forgot to put like integration. That can really happen anytime they're ready. But I guess it should be on there. It can happen as soon as it can be number 4 even. I think they're called D-apps. Is that right, Brett? It's
Decentralized apps. Yeah. D-apps. Yeah.
And
Apps.
what are the D-apps for in this case?
Decentralized, distributed.
Yeah, but are they? Is this specific to currency? Because if so, I think it needs to come after currency.
There's 2 parts. We can do them separately. We can integrate with D-apps governance.
Great. Okay, that's good.
Integrate with D-app currency. That create currency attached to agreement field. It'll probably be on a D-app.
Okay, great. Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, and then I'm going to change these numbers around because I messed them all up. Does anybody see anything else that's critical or that they think should be a part of this? Or does anyone want any clarity on anything else?
Maybe number 2.
Uh-huh.
A little more info on that.
Okay, so everyone aligns with projects and maps out the portal and the parent. So what we're doing right now is aligns with projects. So these are projects. Governance is a project. It's actually more of a sector than a project because there could be multiple projects within funding. Obviously, there could be tons of projects within there. There could be nonprofits and traditional funding, and there could be many. This is going to be probably one project because it's a tech platform integration. So it's one big thing, but there might be smaller projects within it, like integrate this app. That's a project. So it's not really projects. Well, actually it is. They align with the project because they're aligning because they might change from one project in funding and then they complete that project and they say, now I have time. They go, you know what? I'm going to go over and help in the governance and help on the project over there. And that might take them 2 to 3 months. And then they switch over and they, work on something else. So everyone aligns with projects. So they say, okay, what's happening of these next steps that I want to be that I'm aligned with and I have something to input with and I want to kind of jump on the call and help create. And we're mapping out the portal right now to the new paradigm. So what this is the steps, the outline and the steps that we need to get there. I feel like once we have a funding model that, we got funding in, we have our agreements, like Mike and me said, that like we have coherence before funding. We got coherence, we got money. So we're in teams, we distribute money, everyone's up and going coherently. We're able to, have a platform that it's a coherent platform. So it's not all over the map. And we have physical buildings that we can go jump into and switch around. And I feel that's like a good part of the new paradigm. I think the only other thing there that I guess now that I look at it, that's missing would be the further training. Like, yeah, we got training for the declaration, which is nice. And it helps people get organizationally trained, but it doesn't really do the inner training. So the inner training, I guess, is something that maybe would probably need to come. We can still have a headquarters in a physical space, but as long as it's like temporary and we know that we can regroup and, we're not buying a house or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's not permanent until we're trained. And because I think if there's still some, inner alignment to do, then then I feel like that's a part of this process. Like we could be clear on our agreements, but not be, we might not have these well-oiled processes. Tiana?
On the training, is the vision to create your own specific training based on what we're utilizing, or is this training in using different modalities from the retreat leaders that you're calling in?
I think this is something that we're just going to outline together, and then we pull in the people that have their own pieces and see how they fit in. So we're not looking at every single thing in the world and everyone's stuff they've already created, but we're saying what we need to get energetically aligned, and then we can look at our values for that or all kinds of things.
Okay.
What we need to get ready for this next process, which I do have a process I've outlined and I can throw in here and we can look at. But and then we can pull in people that are in alignment with that. Like one of those pieces is finding your purpose. So we could pull in retreat leaders that help find purpose, and we could just worldwide set up events, and it could be a part of our master process that gets people into headquarters and villages. But we can source that out to people that can coherently come with us, share DNA, share processes, and we can start to map these processes out as a giant collective of retreat leaders.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Josh, I'm a little bit, I think this needs a little bit more, that one needs a little bit more clarity, number 2, on the alignments with the projects. I think
I agree.
it just needs a clearer definition. And
Okay.
what I'm going to suggest is then, what you've mentioned is the other elements of this document. And maybe we can call the other elements of this document the core projects. And if that's the case, because we obviously can't align necessarily with projects that haven't been envisioned yet. So I just think it needs a little bit more to be more specific about the core projects in this document, which map out the portal to the new paradigm, and I think that will do it. And then then everything else follows on from there. If that's my correct interpretation, then I just think it needs that little editing input.
Got it. Everyone aligns with core chosen projects, ones that we all chose as a group that are part of getting to the new paradigm.
Are they going to be in this document?
That sounds right.
Yeah, that's this right here. Like one of the I could even say instead right now, and since it's only 4 pieces, it's actually not projects. Right now, it's actually the outline. It's the sectors of they align with a group or a
Section.
A section. What do we? A header, a headline.
Well, I mean, for us, they're always intentions. They might be meta level intentions, but they're still intentions. They're really like governance and agreements. To have governance and agreements to fund. I don't know. I think Mike is right though. You need some kind of designation.
Yeah, it's just because the thing that I always try and look for in a piece of writing is that someone new can come in and have a really, ideally understand the whole thing completely crystal clear, and if not, have a very good idea about what it means. So it needs to be pinpoint if we can. And I'd specify that in this document as well.
Okay, here's what I put. Everyone aligns with the sector and the intention behind it, and we have a clear map of the portal to the new paradigm.
What's a sector?
These are going to be sectors. Sector 1, governance.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I would even be tempted to put in that in brackets.
Thanks,
brackets in this document. Close brackets.
Yeah. Right.
Because that absolutely, then there's now no doubt, there's no room for any confusion. Right, I now know exactly this is about this document. Yeah, And that's great. Thank you.
All right. Cool. All right. So anything else? Okay, so we'll continue. What could get in the way? What's a possible roadblock or something that you're waiting on? Or that we are waiting on? Because if maybe there's an answer to this, I don't know. Waiting on core team to form so we can see this to the end. I think that me and Mike, we started talking about this, what that looks like, forming teams. And so an actual team is like right now we're showing up to calls, but we're not really like, we haven't it's kind of like saying, hey, this is my girlfriend. It's like you've been hanging out with someone, but you haven't officially said, hey, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and shooken hands, right? Or made the agreement. So right now we're showing up to calls, but we're not officially a team because we haven't really talked about how that looks and whatnot. We're in the universal umbrella. So in that way, we're all part of this family group that we're this tribe. And after this, we're going to kind of get into alignment with platforms. And then we need to have that team forming process, which is outlined in the organizational structure, how to form teams. And we're just going to make it clearer and clearer between ourselves what that looks like. And the philosophy behind that is, or at least the method that I've chosen for how I want to operate with people on my team is that we all get to choose who we're working with. And that if we're on a team with someone, say 2 or 3 people, and we want to adopt someone else, that we all co-create that choice together. So somebody could suggest somebody, but we have like a little process of matching and interview and all that. We're pulling someone from the pool that's already been trained. And so it's just not like adding to the team. Like some people just pull teams together and then you're stuck in a team with a bunch of random people that, yeah, we've all been there, Tiana.
Yeah, Josh, on that, I think the first thing is we need to be aware of the importance of diversity. And we may not always agree with people, but that's a very enriching thing. There's something called action learning, and action learning is about actually doing things, and it's about learning about doing things, but it's also about learning about yourself and learning about your interaction with other people, and it's a really powerful tool for consciousness, actually. So I think that as a suggestion, what I would say is that if you've got a team or a nucleus of a team, then I think it's polite to let the team make the team's decisions, and on that basis, people need to be given an introduction to the team and a request from that person. Hey, I'd like to join in this, and then the team needs to make its decision. But I think there's power in diversity. And this is a lesson that we get from nature, and often, there's a danger if we get too much stuck in a track that we're missing out on the innovative, the creative, or the basic questions, and that's actually a blessing. It's up to us how we deal with it, really. So on that basis, I'd just be a little wary about trying to have everyone completely in agreement before we start, because the other thing is, we're heading to a new paradigm, and that's like going over the horizon. We don't really know what it looks like. We can certainly map out a route there, but we don't know what it looks like when we get over the hill. So I would just have that piece of etiquette in there, which is that whoever forms a team, or when a team is formed, the team is the sovereign body. The team makes the decisions, and on that basis, it's polite and considerate and good etiquette for the team to be asked before people are brought in, either as guests or as members for the team, and the team need to make the decision themselves. But I think diversity is important. And having difference is important, because if nothing else, it really teaches us to listen, and that's something that's a skill that needs to be refined, because it's our differences that I find give me the biggest opportunity of learning from other people.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that once we get up and going, it's going to get easier and easier because our culture code is going to give us those processes that we need to be able to take those diversities and take those points of tension and be able to work through them and grow and become sometimes even stronger. I think I had a friend, you were with me, Tiana, Mike, he was telling me about how he went over to this guy's house, and I guess he challenged him to a wrestling match. And so he was, they're co-creating and talking about crypto, and then he challenged him to a wrestling match. And he's like, so he said they actually got in a wrestling fight, like they were throwing each other in the tool shed, and like he elbowed him in the face and like all kinds of stuff, right? And he said they became closer afterwards, but this was their process, right? I've had that happen. Sometimes, I guess, if that's what they need to become closer. But yeah, sometimes dealing with those tensions can bring us closer. We've gone through a tough experience together. My dad says that his best friends in the world were formed in life or death situations where they had something very serious to deal with, and he got to see who a person really is at those moments.
Josh, and everyone else as well. The other thing I am thinking about here is, what does this team look like in future? And what is it moving towards? And I guess, what I'd like to see is that at some stage there's a transition, and that it is all of the people, all of the communities, everybody who makes all the key decisions about the governance, or at the very least, there's an elective process whereby they elect a group of people to do this task, and then the elective people would put out offerings to the wider community, and it's the wider community or the collective consciousness that makes the decision. And I guess what that implies is that we couldn't remain as a sort of self-elected team, if you like, a core team, and we need to think about how that's transitioned so that it moves as a part of the wider collective consciousness. Does that make sense?
I missed it. Did you understand that? Tiana or Steve?
What it means is eventually it shouldn't be, we need, if this is the core task of putting together the recommendations for the agreement fields, etc., then eventually that should be a task where at the very least there's a group that's elected from the members to do that, and they would then make suggestions to the people, and it's the people who then make the ultimate decisions. So it's a way of us being counterbalanced and checked by the bigger group. Otherwise, there's a danger that we remain as a little sort of self-elective group, and we can outlive our service potentially. So how do we transition this so that the people as a whole in this organisation are fully empowered and responsible for this activity? Actually, the renewal of the agreements, the constant evolution of the agreements.
Are you talking about the universal agreements? Or are you talking about personal agreements between a team? Or are you talking about interaction between groups?
Universal, this sort of macro level stuff, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right now what we have is we have once every 6 months or maybe even a year at this point, because it's just right now it's a placeholder. So until those universal agreements really start affecting us, like they're a great body guideline to help us get to where we need. And as a universal set, I just see that having to change through how I see the process is like this. We would propose, if somebody wants to propose a new thing, they propose it, everyone can look at it, and either everyone agrees or they throw a new proposal out there, and they just keep it going. And we can actually, they can keep it going for the next 6 months, and they can keep putting in proposals into something that works for everyone. Because it's an update that everyone has to deal with. So you keep modifying.
I think for long term, if I understand what Mike's talking about there, he's talking about like, how do you keep this going even when we're not there? How does it keep creating into something that's even better and better and more survival, instead of degrading down into something that is what we have in society currently. One of the things I see that's really key for that is a really good educational process where we really educate everyone coming into our group and into the world, for that matter, on basic truths, and really getting these concepts out there so people can think with them, they can operate with them. And I think they'll become a natural ability to just continue to forward and expand, and not lose the integrity if we keep that that knowledge base, that educational process going. I think it can just keep growing. And then as far as our internal, I guess that's where it's very similar to any group. You want to make sure the people are the most competent, the most who've got the highest qualifications as far as competency. Similar to tribes, the guy who could hunt the best becomes the hunter. The guy, the lady who can cook the best, she becomes the cook. So probably building in like the tribe basis of competency and high qualifications based on that, not on, on somebody's approval stamp, so.
Yeah. What is that? What do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, I think competence is really important, and I think there's something which goes along with it, which is commitment or intention. Because
Exactly.
the danger of having someone who's just got the competence and not the commitment is that they become a backseat driver, and there's got to be a nice balance there, which is I'm prepared to do it myself and to put everything in, kind of thing. And I think those points were well made. Stephen, are you do you have a background in the educational side of things?
I've dealt with it quite a bit. I've been running a company for 30 years, and so I do a lot of training of my guys and the public and such. So
great, because that's something that you're then you have significant experience and history in to be able to help us to do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, so I guess, I don't know, let me think about that. I just wanted to throw it out there because it just struck me. But what I'd like to see at some stage is a process built in whereby, in a certain period or at a certain landmark, this happens. And that is that the people, all the people are fully in control of all of the process, and they then have that experience and the training as well that Stephen's talking about, which is we know what we're doing here, we know why we do things in this way, we know why we have these processes, and on that basis they're coming in with a degree of consciousness and awareness about okay, we change it, we have to test it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great, and I really feel like all of us on this call may end up being in a group that forms how that looks and what that is, and of course, creating that process for other people to do that. How I've seen that so far. See this placement regrouping. It's also been called roles and goals in my master plan. So it's not really clear to me yet what the actual name of it is, but it's basically a group that oversees the groups and helps them communicate between each other. Okay, basically, sees what they need. What do you need? It would make sure that contracts are done correctly and just different things. It needs to see, it's highly connected to the training platform or the education platform. So you said education. So I'm saying education loop to the roles and goals circle. So there's some major communication between what is being developed in the training and education, which is the heart. How I see it, that's the heart, because it's what we're teaching people inside of us, right? And that evolves through our culture code. So we're also thinking, well, how does each person's culture code connect to each other to create this, process that's really working for everyone? And how do we incorporate that into our training so that newcomers can test it out, and even people in training can actually be in an experimental mode and create new pieces of it while they're in training, So yeah, there's a giant conversation that could be a week's worth of work or a month or a day. But another piece I see of that, just really quick, because we will have to come back to that. But the 3 C's, when something's not happening or someone's not fulfilling their role, you look at the 3 C's. The first thing you say is, do they care? If they do care, then you look at competency. Okay, well, they care, but are they competent? So are they not fulfilling their role because they're not competent? And you go, okay, well, they're competent, so what's wrong? And then the last C is communication. And how I see that working in a group is a little different than just a boss looking at an employee. In a group, you might be able to align on how much you care. Like actually like going, okay, how's everyone feeling about this, raising funds? Let's say we're raising funds together. How is everyone feeling jazzed? Everyone's like, oh, I'm a 6, I'm an 8, I'm a 4. Well, so you could kind of jazz yourself up levels till you all get really excited about it before you start work. So you're very, you care about it. You dig in a process that helps you dig into how much you're caring. Because if you have someone on the team that doesn't care, their performance is going to be sucky. And then competency in a team, that's each one teach one. So we're helping to make sure that everyone is competent by teaching that the experts would teach the other people. And then communication, that's something that we're pretty good at, but there's always going to be work on that. So that's how I see that also tying in. Okay. Does everyone else complete on that? We'll have to just come back to it later.
Yeah, I think we should do. Can I make a note on that then to that effect, Josh?
Of course. Yeah, just stand in there. Notes are always good, and they're in red, so we know they're notes. And so what I meant by what could get in the way, what's a possible roadblock, is just getting a team that's really like going, and then that knows what they're doing. And this is what you're speaking to also, Mike, is just, what does that look like? And so that'll happen after we finish this document and we all get into the pool and we form teams. Then we'll talk about how that looks to be a team. And when someone's sick, they say, okay, I'm going to be sick, or I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be out of pocket for the next 2 weeks. Maybe we have a replacement for them, or, figuring out how that looks to be a team. Okay. Sector 2, funding and funding models, including currencies and business structures.
Can
business structures.
Josh, I'm sorry. Can I just back up for 1 second, because something was coming forward to me about the teams.
Yes.
And the roadblocks.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've experienced on teams and people forming teams and coming on teams is there needs to be something that's put in place where I know there's an intention, but the person's individual intention for being on the team, and how do you get that clearly defined as you're forming the team? This is just a kind of a question that's coming up in mind. How do you get, because lots of people get on lots of teams for lots of different reasons. Mm-hmm. And it may not be clear to the team. I don't know if this is clear, but is there a way or a process in which to clarify that in the beginning with the team members? Is that a part of the training, or is that something that's just assumed people would know coming on and they have to state it?
Got it.
Or is that something that the team needs to train the person on themselves?
I'm going to write that in as a question, and I think that's a process. And for me, I see it as a mix of energetic and mental. It's kind of an embodiment type of thing. And I think that could be a very fun process, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Sure. And I think that that's something that we can develop when we get there and just kind of experiment with. And Mike might have some ideas there. I have some thoughts that I haven't ever really implemented, but I can see some stuff that could work there.
If I understand the question, you're talking about the process of ensuring that people are on the same intention. Is that correct?
Yeah, not only the intention of the team itself, but their personal intention for being on the team.
Right,
and
right.
Some people are not even clear as to what their intention is, and is there a process in which we can get the person clear? You know, lots of people are just like attracted to something and they don't really know why they're there. Is there a process of discovery for them, or something that we can put the team through? Because that can, people's, I don't want to say ill intentions, but misaligned intentions can really skew the energy of a group.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
I think, yeah, I understand. I've been struggling with that one for a long time, and what I found is that it's a constant process. I mean, people change. People start off with one idea. They start to learn more about that idea. They get changes in their ideas and directions. It's almost like once you've run them through some basic qualification points, then you just have to get into action, and then their products and their production and their results start to really show how well in alignment they are. If they can't get the results, there's probably an out alignment in their intention. You know, you've got to assume that you know that there's a technology and there's a way of doing things, and if they learn how to do those things and they know how to do those things, then they should be able to get the result. And if they can't get the result, then there could be something deeper. It could be the intention. I find it's just a constant process of working with people. And yeah, I found personally, you don't really know how long, you know, how well they're going to do until you get to know them for about at least a good year, you know, of putting them out on jobs and trying them out and seeing how they do it and see what they run into and see where they need the training. And so, yeah, it's probably, I think Josh is right, where there's going to be a bit of a process involved. We try to qualify them the best we can right from the start. We get them to read it, clarify it, clear it up, agree to it. We assume that they understand the intentions and their concepts. Now, everybody could have slight different intentions of what they want to do, but that's where I think the process is going to divide them up into their teams. You know, one person's got a slightly different intention that aligns more with, let's say, funding or with governance, and then they're going to sort of gravitate to those areas. But yeah, I think there's going to be a process. So I think we just do what we're doing right now, and I think we're gonna clean out the people who can't show up, who can't do this, who can't get a result, you know, and that's the people who don't communicate, you know, like you mentioned, caring, competency, and communication. The people that just sort of sit in the background and never talk, they're not really being involved, and that in itself can be a point that's looked at and go, well, you know, what's going on? You know what I mean? Why isn't he involved? Why isn't he interacting? You know, so I think there's going to be a process involved.
Yeah. We'll have to go through that. I think the questions we had, we'll bring the solutions.
Can I come in on that as well? Because I think those were really, first of all, it was an absolutely brilliant question. And I thought that was a great response from Steve as well. I think I'm quite a fan of this action learning process. And it's a very, very simple concept, but what it's mostly about, apart from a structure and the process whereby people are really encouraged to ask questions, is reflection. And what comes out of that deep reflection is personal awareness and social awareness and awareness of how we improve what we do. So I think the first thing that we're going to have is the law of attraction. Those people who are ready at that moment will step in. I think one of the big problems is people who don't know themselves. And there's a lot of people out there who don't know themselves. But if we give them the right tools and the right culture and the right environment, then, and especially with this action learning approach, which isn't about just doing things, but it's about reflection, then I think the reflection brings the consciousness in, and that gives people a big chance to evolve. And of course, within the structure, you can have the thing of, well, okay, look, it's just not working within this team at the moment. Maybe there's another team you can be involved with, and that's all involved. That's all part of the conscious co-creation tools as well. So you've got the personal respects, the personal support, the ability to speak in council with someone who's there for that purpose, and the ability to talk in a listening circle with people to get to deeper things as well. So I think we've got some really powerful tools for that. But my view is that that reflection built into the process is really important.
Cool. I'm going to put that in there. Okay, cool. Mine's green. I don't know. Okay. All right. Is everyone ready to move to funding? You ready for the money?
Sure.
Josh, I'm wondering, we've done an hour and a quarter,
Wow.
and my feeling is that's quite an important element. And my feeling is that we've reached a natural break, and it's probably good to just come to that completely fresh on another call. So I'm not wishing to slow things down, but my feeling is that might be a really good thing to we just bring that as our complete focus for the next call.
I think so. I think that we got
Good
through
point.
this together, and yeah. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I'm good either way. I'm ready to just keep rolling through. But yeah, I understand. I'm going to have to end off pretty soon to get back to work myself. So, but yeah, I think that's a good point to stop on. And we just carry back on the next call. How soon can we have a next call?
Maybe we can have one before the week. I think I'm traveling the 3rd, so let me look at my dates. Because this is most of us, and Brett can pretty much work stuff in pretty well. I leave on Friday the 3rd, so I have a week, and then I leave in between. So we could do one between now and the 1st, which will supposedly be next week's meeting, or will be. So we could do one. My Saturday's full. Sunday, Monday, even tomorrow.
I'll throw a date out there. I'm open again for Friday if that sounds good for anybody.
Friday's actually good for me.
I can't do Friday. I'm traveling on Friday.
Is there a day you can do?
In fact, I'm going to be in Ireland next week for a good week or so. And I'm just, at the moment, I've been told the communications are very poor there, so I'm not sure how that would work, Josh. So we'll see. I will try, but I'm not sure how it's going to work at the moment. So don't do it around me. Let's see if I can fit around the rest of the group. If you guys can agree a time, then let's just see. I'll do my best to come in on it.
Okay, so we could do tomorrow or Friday, at this point, tomorrow or Friday. Deanna, you're open?
Yeah, I'm open.
I am not sure. I can potentially do. I gotta check my calendar. Hold on a second. I'm not feeling tomorrow. I mean, I'm feeling like I like the calls on the same day every week. But let me see. That way I can plan around it instead of, I guess it depends what time we have it on Friday. And if we have it in the morning, around this time is probably not going to be good for me. I have a bunch of things planned for the afternoon.
Friday's pretty packed for me, actually. And I I do like what Tiana said, which is I think it's quite useful to have it every week at a regular time. Although I know it's really difficult when you're planning your traveling and stuff like that as well. But that regularity becomes much easier for people to diary. And one thing I've found, Josh, is when we start changing dates and times around, there's always people who drop off. It's either inconvenient or they start forgetting and stuff like that. So having something regular is really useful, I think.
Okay, and for the funding, we definitely need you there, Tiana, because so if we did do that, it would be a private one. It wouldn't be like I probably wouldn't shout it to everyone. Once we get through this document, we can, continue. But we can also just wait till next week, and once we get through this document, we can basically. Which could take a long time. I'm just thinking we could add a call in for now, like a second call in. I do have my daughter too this week, so I'm okay with just waiting a week at this point. Maybe next week we add in an extra call, or what do you guys, it's just up to everybody really.
That sounds good. Let's have this set every week, and then if we can fit something in, then maybe we can just talk to each other and see what's open. I work for myself, so I can pretty much control my schedule to a very large degree. So I'm pretty open if we want to put in some extra calls. I could probably fit 2 or 3 calls in a week. But I'm okay with we can always keep the Wednesday and just keep that every Wednesday. And then if we can fit in some other calls here and there, that's great. Just contact me, let me know if all of a sudden, spur of the moment, everybody just says, hey, we can all get together, then just call me, and most likely I can get in on it too. So.
Yeah, and all these will be recorded because these are some of the main calls. So these are all going to be recorded for people to review, look at, add in later. Like we can always add in later to this. It's not like it's done forever kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, well, let's figure it out, and let's just decide how we want to take it, and let's call it for now.
Yeah, Josh, and just an observation. I've just had a look through the document, and we've done 2 sides effectively in this week's call, and when we look at the other subjects, a lot of them are one side. So once we've got the finance element over, we can probably do maybe 2 subjects in a call. So I think we'll get our pace back after that. But it's such an important one. I think it's worthwhile doing that. Yeah.
Let's keep on it. And I really do want you there, Mike. You were there on the one that me and Brett did about finances, where we kind of went through all the models.
Yeah.
It's similar, but we're doing it. And I do want you there though, because you're a good guy with numbers too. Okay.
So are we keeping it next Wednesday? Is that the clarity of it, or are we just up in the air still?
I think we should do that for now. But you're not going to be able to make it next Wednesday, Mike. The communication.
Oh, okay.
No, I can't guarantee it. That's all. I will. I'll do my best to do it. I've just been told the internet's a little bit dodgy there. So, but don't build it around me, because what I can do then is I can download the call, I can listen to it, and I can come back with questions and suggestions and stuff like that. Right. So, and then that'll be a really quick way of me doing a sort of catch up, I guess. Yeah. And I've got complete confidence in the rest of you anyway. So,
Cool. You're awesome, Mike.
Yeah.
You too, Tiana, Steve. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
All right, we'll decide if we want to do another call. I want to get it going because of our timeline. To be honest with you, I think it might be good to record it and set one up for. We're all Central Time, Tiana, me, you, and Steve. So maybe we could do a Friday and invite Brett in. I think you're right to keep it off the map so it doesn't get too confusing. I think we're the ones that are showing right now. I think Malia's out of pocket right now for somehow. I've handpicked and called every single person that is in our agreement field. And so at this point, it's just us for now until we get to the next level and we invite people in and we get them in buckets. Then it's going to grow exponentially. But since it's just us and you're going to be somewhat out of pocket anyway, I think we should go ahead and maybe get one Friday in. so that we can get
I'm open.
moving. I think that's going to fit our timeline best. Okay, let's talk about it offline. And we'll let everybody know. Okay.
Have a great one, everyone. Take care.
Aloha. Have
See
a
you
great,
later.
safe travels, Mike.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Steve.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Tiana, Mike,
Brett.
Josh.
Bye, Brett. If
Bye,
you,
Brett.
Bye, Bill.
I can't see him. I think he's logged off.
Yeah, he's not on my screen either.
All right. Aloha.